Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today's video is about a leader who forever changed Ethiopia's history, Meles Zenawi Asres. From his revolutionary roots in the mountains of Tigray to leading Ethiopia through some of its most transformative years, Meles Zenawi remains a figure of admiration, debate, and inspiration. Who was Meles Zenawi? How did he fight his way to power? And what was his vision for Ethiopia? Sit back, subscribe, and let's dive into the full story of Ethiopia's most significant modern leader. Meles Zenawi was born on May 8, 1955, in the historic town of Adwa, Tigray, northern Ethiopia, a place known for its resistance during the Battle of Adwa against Italian colonization. The son of Zenawi Asres and Alamash Gebreluel, Meles grew up in a modest family. Despite his humble beginnings, he was a brilliant student. After attending local schools, Meles earned a scholarship to General Wingate Secondary School in Addis Ababa, one of the top schools in Ethiopia. In 1972, he joined Haile Selassie III University, now Addis Ababa University, to study medicine. However, his time there was short-lived. Ethiopia was in chaos under the Derg regime, and Meles, like many others, felt compelled to act. At just 19 years old, Meles abandoned his studies and joined the armed struggle. It was a defining moment, leaving behind comfort and opportunity to fight for Ethiopia's future. Little did anyone know, this young man would one day lead the nation. Meles Zenawi joined the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, in 1975, an armed group dedicated to overthrowing the brutal military dictatorship of the Derg, led by Mengistu Haile Mariam. The mountains of Tigray became both his home and his battlefield. Meles was more than a fighter. He was a thinker. While bullets were fired on the front line, he strategized behind the scenes. By the 1980s, Meles had emerged as one of the top political leaders of the TPLF. He pushed for the TPLF's involvement in a broader coalition, leading to the formation of the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF. Years of guerrilla warfare took a toll, but by 1991, the tides turned. The EPRDF, under Meles Zenawi's leadership, entered Addis Ababa and officially ended Mengistu Haile Mariam's 17-year regime. Mengistu fled into exile, and Ethiopia faced a new era. In 1991, Meles Zenawi became Ethiopia's transitional president. The country was broken. Decades of war had left Ethiopia's economy in shambles, its infrastructure destroyed, and its people divided. Rebuilding the nation's economy, redefining Ethiopia's political system. In 1995, Ethiopia adopted a new federal constitution, allowing regions greater autonomy. This ethnic-based federalism was controversial, but aimed to address long-standing ethnic tensions. Massive investments in infrastructure, prioritizing education and healthcare, promoting agriculture while modernizing industries. Under his leadership, Ethiopia's GDP grew by an average of 8 to 10% annually in the 2000s, one of the highest growth rates in Africa. One of the most groundbreaking and controversial policies under Meles Zenawi's leadership was the implementation of ethnic federalism. This was more than just politics. It was about reshaping Ethiopia's identity. Ethiopia, a country of more than 80 ethnic groups, had long struggled with tensions rooted in language, culture, and power dynamics. Meles believed that unity would come through recognition of diversity, not suppression of it. Under the 1995 Constitution, Meles Zenawi and the EPRDF government established a federal system based on ethnic lines. This allowed each regional state, known as Kilils, to govern itself, use its own flag, and promote its local language as the official language of education and administration. Regional states were also empowered to adopt their own flags. These flags were symbols of pride and self-governance, representing local heritage while coexisting under Ethiopia's national flag. For example, the Oromia flag represents the Oromo people's cultural resilience. The Tigray regional flag became a symbol of Tigrayan heritage. The Somali regional flag reflected the Somali identity. Each group had a voice, a flag, and a sense of belonging within the Ethiopian state. This policy wasn't without controversy. Critics argued that ethnic federalism deepened divisions and weakened national unity. They worried that emphasizing ethnicity over a shared Ethiopian identity could fragment the country. Supporters, however, viewed it as an act of justice, giving Ethiopia's diverse peoples the recognition, autonomy, and equality they had been denied for decades. For Meles Zenawi, this was part of his vision for a more inclusive Ethiopia, where every ethnic group could thrive without fear of cultural erasure. Whether you agree or disagree with ethnic federalism, there's no denying that Meles Zenawi's policies fundamentally transformed Ethiopia. By promoting language diversity and empowering regions to govern themselves, he aimed to balance Ethiopia's rich cultural heritage with progress and development. This updated section now highlights how Meles Zenawi championed mother tongue education and regional autonomy, tying it back to Ethiopian identity, culture, and his broader leadership vision. His government faced criticism, particularly on issues of human rights and freedom of speech. Opposition parties accused his administration of suppressing dissent and consolidating power. Journalists and activists often faced arrests, sparking concerns about Ethiopia's democratic progress. Supporters, however, argue that his firm leadership was necessary to stabilize the country and drive rapid development. One of Meles Zenawi's boldest and most visionary projects was the launch of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a project that captured Ethiopia's ambition to stand tall on the global stage. To understand why this dam became a historic milestone, we need to go back to Meles Zenawi's vision for Ethiopia's economic independence and energy security. Footage of Ethiopian landscapes with rivers and rural communities without electricity. In the early 2000s, Ethiopia faced major challenges. Over 65% of Ethiopians lacked access to electricity, and economic growth was being held back by unreliable power infrastructure. The country was heavily dependent on foreign oil and imported electricity from neighboring countries like Sudan. For Meles Zenawi, this was unacceptable. He believed Ethiopia, with its abundant rivers, including the Blue Nile, had the resources to generate clean, affordable, and sustainable energy for its people. In 2009, under Meles Zenawi's leadership, plans were quietly developed for a massive hydroelectric dam on the Blue Nile River, one of the main tributaries of the Nile. The location chosen was Lake Tana Amhara region, near the Sudanese border. Meles Zenawi envisioned a dam so big that it would not only power Ethiopia, but also allow the country to export electricity across Africa. This would turn Ethiopia into a regional energy hub, helping millions escape poverty. On April 2, 2011, Meles Zenawi officially announced the construction of what would later be named the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD. The announcement was met with overwhelming excitement, as well as intense international attention. At the groundbreaking ceremony, Meles Zenawi delivered a powerful speech. He described the dam as a project of national pride and African self-reliance. His words reflected the spirit of the Ethiopian people. This dam is not just a power plant. It is the foundation of Ethiopia's transformation. The GERD was no ordinary project. It was designed to become Africa's largest hydroelectric dam, with an expected capacity of 6,450 megawatts of electricity, enough to power millions of homes and industries across Ethiopia and neighboring countries. Height, 145 meters, 475 feet. Length, 1,780 meters, 5,840 feet. Reservoir capacity, 74 billion cubic meters of water. The project's sheer scale reflected Meles Zenawi's belief in Ethiopia's potential to lead Africa's economic transformation. But here's what made the GERD truly historic: how it was funded. Unlike many large-scale infrastructure projects that rely on foreign aid or loans, Meles Zenawi made a bold decision. The dam would be built by Ethiopians, for Ethiopians. To finance the GERD, The Ethiopian government issued government bonds, encouraging citizens to invest in the country's future. Civil servants and workers contributed a portion of their salaries. Businesses, students, and diaspora communities donated funds. Across Ethiopia, people from all walks of life rallied behind the GERD. It wasn't just an engineering project. It was a symbol of unity, pride, and self-reliance. However, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam wasn't without controversy. The Nile River has always been a lifeline for downstream countries like Egypt and Sudan. Egypt, in particular, expressed strong opposition to the dam, fearing it would reduce the Nile's water flow. For centuries, the Nile had been governed by colonial-era treaties that gave Egypt and Sudan control over its waters. But Meles Zenawi stood firm. He emphasized Ethiopia's sovereign right to use its natural resources for development. In his words, "The Nile is Ethiopia's gift to the world. We are simply using what is ours to lift our people out of poverty." Sadly, Meles Zenawi didn't live to see the completion of his most ambitious project. He passed away in August 2012, just a year after construction began. But his vision endured. The GERD became a legacy project, carried forward by his successors and supported by Ethiopians around the world. Today, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam stands as a symbol of Ethiopia's resilience, ambition, and independence. It reflects Meles Zenawi's unwavering belief that Ethiopia could, and would, build a brighter future through its own strength. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is more than concrete and water. It's the realization of a dream planted by Meles Zenawi and nurtured by the Ethiopian people. Love him or criticize him, Meles Zenawi's leadership laid the foundation for Ethiopia's transformation. The GERD is proof of what a united nation can achieve. His sudden death left Ethiopia in shock, and tributes poured in from world leaders who admired his work. For many Ethiopians, Meles remains a hero of progress, a leader who pulled Ethiopia onto the global stage and set it on a path of development. Meles Zenawi was a man of contradictions, a revolutionary, a visionary, and a pragmatist. His policies reshaped Ethiopia's economy, but his methods were not without criticism. What do you think about Meles Zenawi's leadership? Was he a visionary hero or a controversial figure? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about Africa's history and its leaders. See you in the next video.